change out of it. And, like I said, it's learning opportunity for us too. So it's just,
Yeah.
like I could have stopped.
It was great. I was really happy that you guys made the effort and time to present and be here.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for sticking around the conference, the last session. I know how that is. And then, of course, when I saw that this was on the last session, it's like, is anyone going to stick around? So I really do appreciate you doing that. If you have to leave early to like grab a train, get home, I completely understand that. My hope for this conversation is that you guys could teach me how to be better at mindfulness. Like, so if you think I'm coming in as like some sort of expert, you have it all wrong. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how like I came to start getting into this, and how really like as a school leader, it's I think something that's going to help us to maintain our sanity as we go through what is a very stressful industry that we're in, with not a lot of public support anymore or political support. So, with all the makings of a very, sort of stressed out, system that we're in. And not only that, but in the age of social media, when you talk about like connection, and we're going to talk a lot about that today, connection, I'm seeing a lot of, folks on social media. I've written 2 books about social media. I'm a big fan of social media, but then I've become very isolated at times through social media, not only through, my online PLN, but then also you end up getting isolated from the people that you work with. So it's this weird conundrum that I feel like is happening. And that all came through just like sort of stumbling across this whole concept. And so what I'd like to do, especially since we have a nice group here, is just have everybody go around and introduce themselves. And just like, let's talk about our PLN, like let's build something here. So just like a little bit about yourself and where you work, and maybe some things that you're interested in too. Because as I got just reminded before the start from Diana, that we often ask a lot of stuff about, and we talk a lot about work, and are we really sharing that stuff that goes on beyond that? So I didn't even introduce myself, but I'm Spike. I'm a principal at Bacon Elementary School in Millville, New Jersey. I have 2 children. I am, somebody who I love reading, I love writing, and I've really gotten into mindfulness, like I would say, within the last year. And I'm trying to be more mindful in my daily practice. I put you on the spot, Elise.
Okay, I'm Elise Fernandez, and I chose this session because connection and isolation is something that I think about all the time. I teach Argentine tango, which is a partner dance, and there are not a lot of dancers my age and younger, dancing Argentine tango. So what does that mean for the future of tango? But also, if we're in this world that is so that we can be connected to anyone at any time, anywhere, how do we stay physically connected? And maybe that's the reason why young people aren't dancing tango, like myself. Why aren't more people my age dancing tango? How do you stay physically connected to others? And how can that, what does the future look like?
That's awesome. I'm already
tried to say that
because there's some like
possible.
applications like towards the end. Like, so I hope we maybe do tango. Yeah. That would really help you stay mindful.
It's a mindful practice.
Yeah, totally.
Very much.
So Randy Ziegenfuss, I'm superintendent in a district outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, a little bit north of here. And the idea of mindfulness is something that I've attempted to make a goal numerous years, and I start out okay, but then usually it doesn't pan out the way that I planned. And being an introvert, I find that by the time I get to the middle of the afternoon, there's just way too much stuff coming at me, and I find that sometimes just closing my office door and closing my eyes for 10 or 15 minutes definitely helps, but it's not really anything that's structured. So I'm curious, you know, how do you manage all the overstimulation from those connections, and you know, whether it's online or face to face. So that's an interesting. How do I sort of get this goal going again?
Yeah.
Eric Fieldman, special education teacher in Collinswood, New Jersey. One of the things I'm really passionate about, and spent most of EdCon at, was about social justice, and expanding our community with our students to make them more inclusive. And also, I'm relatively new into the social media, but have jumped into it head first into the deep end, and really enjoying it, but still navigating. And like I say, like when you said this, there's sometimes can be so much of an overload. How do you disseminate what's important, what's not important, and how to best use it, what's the best practice for it, and how do I incorporate that in both my professional and my personal life?
That's awesome. All right, great.
Dan Whalen, I also work at Collinswood High School and Middle School. I'm a tech coach. I love social media, love being connected. Has actually just revolutionized my life, career, everything. But I have gone through several stages of excitement, and then maybe I should live in a cabin in the woods to find some kind of happy medium. And now, like I'm a distance runner when I'm being good. It's a rough month, but I run half marathon, sometimes marathon, and that in and of itself is a kind of form of mindfulness for me. And I'm always thinking, if anyone knows Tim Ferriss, kind of outside the box thinker, I like him, and he's all about like hacking things. And so I read all about him, and that's led me to some mindfulness thinking. But where I'm at right now, I don't know. I actually text my wife the streaming thing, like I'm still here, I'm on the session, so hi.
Right.
But
we are streaming.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. It's like I'm kind of like, all right, give me a second. I'm reading about mindfulness. Like, yeah, I'm like addicted to figuring it out, but I'm not doing it. So.
Yeah. Right, because I'm sure somebody who's really good at mindfulness will say, well, that's just not the way to do it, right?
Right.
Be mindfulness in everything that you're doing.
I'll go next because I feel the exact same way. I also run distance. I just ran the 90 marathon last week.
I saw that.
Thank you. And I work just around the corner at String Theory Schools, where all iPad, no paper, and all day our kids are literally like glued to their iPads, and they're communicating and connecting. They are face to face, but a lot of it is through the iPad. And there's no like section of the day when they're not necessarily, like they have it at lunch, they have it at all parts of the day. And when I leave, like I stay after school, I try to get everything done, and then when I get home, like I'm totally burnt out. I have to go for the run. I have to do something. Sometimes I don't even want to listen to music because I just like need the quiet. So a lot of the same ones.
I'm Scott. I am not a distance runner. I teach pre-K through 4th grade music in New Jersey. And I would say my other interests, I just became married in August. So that's a wonderful new exciting change. And then we decided, since that wasn't enough, we decided to buy a house. So we moved in December 23rd. So lots of changes. And other changes. So exciting times.
I'm Ted. I am Director of Digital Literacy and Innovation at a private school in Stamford, Connecticut. I am very connected on Twitter, and I like to blog, and I have been in a phase of my life for the last few years where I've been really, really fortunate to be able to just like live education all the time. And I love it, and I'm so passionate about it, and I work in the same building with my wife, so like we just take it home and keep on talking about it. And we're expecting twins this summer, which is like amazing. And I'm thinking a lot right now about like okay, I'm gonna have to get a lot better at turning this off. And so that's sort of where I am.
Yes, yeah. Wow, that is exciting.
Hi, I'm Diana. I do not like olives.
Or onions.
Or a lot of onions, yeah. Lost in translation on Delhi. But mindfulness
Freudian slip.
is actually a part of our culture at my school. So I teach at the Ethical Culture Fieldston School in New York. At any given moment, you can walk into a classroom and hear a chime bowl. You'll see kindergartners sitting like this. And so we teach them from an early age about what it's like, the importance of pause. But I don't transfer it much. I started a doctoral program last fall. So I kind of like ejected myself out of being obsessive about work and then being obsessive about a new kind of work. And now I'm actually just more obsessive about the goal of it. So I was telling Spike earlier that one thing that's actually helped me is social media, because there's leaders out there that I really respect that will post pictures of their families and their children and even my friends on vacation, and I was like, oh, that's what I should be doing. So it's baby steps for me, because unplugging and balance is not easy. So my relaxation, other than I can't run, I don't running and not tango, is I love cooking. I really love cooking. So that's what I really enjoy. That's kind of like my downtime at home after exercise.
That's cool. So I always think it's really important, especially in the, sessions that are long like this, that we take that time to sort of build our network here, so that if anything you learn, that we can kind of connect after this as well. And that is the beauty of social media. So where does all this come from? So I started doing a podcast with two principals who the three of us have never met before, all three of us together a few years ago. And they just reached out through social media. We want to do a podcast, that would be focused on, principles. And we really started getting into some really good conversations. We use Voxer as our back channel. And what we were finding was that we felt a lot like that third image there all the time, like where we were just so stressed out. We were, constantly trying to, blog all the time, lead our schools, family, social media, all these type of things. And we just really felt like we didn't have a life. Like we really didn't have a life. So like what Diane was saying earlier, like when you talk to somebody and it's like I was definitely that person. It was like everything that I would tell you would be about work or social media or blogging or something like that, or something I read or something that I wanted to do, or presentations coming up. And we were really going through this. And it's funny because like when I did my doctoral work, one of the tenets of the program was to really examine yourself as a leader. So I studied a lot of leadership theory, and there's a great book by Boyatzis and McKee, Resident Leadership, and Annie McKee is a professor right over here at Penn, and she does a lot of really good work in this area. So it's funny, like part of my dissertation was talking about the sacrifice syndrome and the cycle of renewal. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit today. And I mean, I literally, I spent 10 to 15 pages writing and reflecting on this, and I consistently run into the sacrifice syndrome and forget what I actually, like Randy was kind of saying earlier, I try a little bit and then I just, I have trouble with it. So I started talking with them about that kind of stuff, and then one of us brought up this book called The Miracle Morning, where then once again we were trying to add another thing onto our long list of things to do, and we're challenging ourselves to get up at 5 in the morning. And if you ever read The Miracle, has anyone read The Miracle Morning? It's by a very, very energetic guy named Hal Elrod, and he's like one of those guys that gets up at 4 in the morning, and he has like an hour set out where he does meditation, there's some exercise, there's some reading, some writing. It's really, really good stuff. The problem is it happens at 5 in the morning. So like, you know, I do it for a couple days and then I went. So Jess and Teresa and I were going back and forth like, oh, I suck at the miracle morning. Like I missed like 2 days in a row, or like where we'd be like beaming, you know, like I did it 4 days in a row, you know, like that kind of stuff. I don't know if any of us ever did like a complete cycle, because I think you have to do like, what is it, 21 or 28 days to make something like a habit. That never happened. So within that, there was this, how Elrod really like encouraged you to look into like meditation. And mindfulness and meditation are certainly not the same thing. I don't want to blur those lines, but we found Headspace. Now, has anyone used that app, Headspace?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking like even if we had time today to like either listen to Andy or go through one of his meditation mindfulness practice. And there's a free app that you can get 10 free sessions. And this guy's really cool. He's like, I guess like in his early 20s, he went and lived in a Tibetan monastery and then traveled all around China and Japan, learning all these different meditation techniques. And then basically was like, wait, what am I doing with myself? And so he came back. I think he lives in California now, but he actually did a TED talk and he was like, he didn't feel like he was helping anyone. So his whole thing now is to help people to understand mindfulness and meditation in a really scientific but yet easy to implement sort of way. And so that app is really cool because they kind of build it as like, join the gym that will work on your mind. You know, like we're easy to like throw down, you know, $10, $20, $30 a month to join LA Fitness or Planet Fitness to work out. And his theory is like, but we're like totally forgetting like one of the biggest muscles that we have. So that led into, we decided that we wanted to write a book because of course, why wouldn't we want to add another thing onto our plate of things to do to get us back to there? So one of the authors, Corwin Press, reached out to us and she saw the work that we're doing, Kirsten Olson, and got us the Mindful School Leader, which is a really, really good book. There's a lot of good nuggets of information and practices in there. So we played around with that to try to get like our balance, and then we wrote a book, and it's all happy end, which it really wasn't. So the problem is like this connection and isolation piece continues to come up time and time again. So what I want to do is I just want to do like a quick activity where we start to where we start to talk about like just this concept of connection. It looks like there's some stickies left over from the last session. So yeah, I do a lot of this like when I do staff meetings and stuff. It really helps people to like formulate their thoughts before and everyone can be a part of it. So that's what we can do. Just individually write 3 statements about how connection impacts you as an educator. You know, be specific, you know, as much as possible, and write those on a separate Post-it note.
You mean being connected digitally, that kind of connection?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Yes. Being connected digitally. All right, and then as soon as your table is finished, just have everyone go around and share one out, and then we'll just kind of throw them in the middle and see if we can if we have some sort of commonalities. So whoever wants to start, we can do it in small team, then we'll report out too. I'll join you guys.
So I went for 2 positives and 1 negative.
Okay.
So I said my PLM members are a huge resource.
Yeah, similarly,
I would say it might not be a daily thing, but every week I'm getting something helpful, something positive from all the people.
Yeah.
Huge resource.
What was yours?
I've got people who are awesome and inspire me.
Well, the simple theme I have is it's allowed me to have connections, conversations with peers I never would have met. Right?
Provide opportunities to find personal growth resources.
Yeah.
Lots of books. I would say.
Okay, my digital one was
I went.
I don't feel like digitally it helps me
Makes me
connect. I
feel
feel
like
like
the tribe is the first one that makes me feel like that tribe isn't necessarily.
in the present moment for mindfulness. But physically, if I am if I'm physically connected to someone else or physically connected to the space, it expands my awareness and knowledge of the space around me. So like, if I'm connected to something, if I'm connected to the floor because I'm aware of how I'm stepping, I'm more aware of the water bottle that might have been placed on the floor that I probably should not be near, or else I'll not be able to. There will be a mess. So that was physically.
I'll add in, it completely changed my practice. Like I know when I first got into social media, I wrote this post about
Yeah, I mean, I
being a 30-year-old first year principal of this dinosaur. Like because once I got into social media and I looked at all the cool things that everyone else was doing, and I was like, I thought I was so innovative, and I'm like, oh man, like compared to that, like I feel like a dinosaur, and so it really helped me to enhance these things that I would
Defining what brings self-value.
never known about.
Which again is like a filtering. It's what's really valuable.
I do way too much, and it's hard to focus on one thing at a time. I'm in my first year is not being in a classroom. I kind of make my own schedule, which on some days is really scary because I go into like wormhole, and like I see I do 3 different Twitter chats tonight with my dad, and I have to do this. And, like, so yeah, definitely feel scattered and a lot. Just like everything sometimes speeds up. I just stop all that.
I had, well, it's energized me, it's invigorated me, and it really challenged me to grow. And then I realized that I had really just sort of stagnated in a lot of places. It seemed always wonderful, exciting things. And it wasn't so much jumping into the pool, as being pushed in.
Limitless personal growth or professional growth opportunities. They're just like, well, unlike it's to it's just, and it's too much too sometimes, like to focus things. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right, there's a theme. I said it has the opportunity to allow me to collaborate with others and grow as a human being because of that collaboration.
Ability to connect with whoever, whenever, wherever.
Yeah. You're not solving the problem.
Yeah.
As my wife complains about getting tweets at 3 in the morning. It's not from like New Zealand, it's the middle of the afternoon there.
Yeah, right.
But it's true, it's,
Yeah.
it's 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which is the upside and the downside.
But I'm able to reflect and spread positivity. So, I mean, I didn't formally reflect early in my teaching career. I reflected, but I didn't journal guy, or, and now this really does formalize that reflection. In a way that you almost don't think
Because there is that.
Not that's regular, and I threw in positive vibes there too, just because I'm so in the field that social media should be used for good, and we need to empower the bad, and so I like saying like, hey, Mr. Freeman, did a good job today, and out on Twitter.
Where you don't have to be like a critical friends. Critical friends chat.
Well,
So in my role as a means of communicating with stakeholders.
Yeah, chat.
For me, it's just, I've gained so many more resources that I can use now in my teaching, and there's some different ways to do it, which kind of ties in with my other statement, but
Yeah.
it gave me the physical tools, when people sharing lessons or ideas, and, hey, try this plan, and I've been able to share with other people too, so it sort of made me feel a little more valuable when people are interested in what I'm doing, it gives me a little more self-worth.
I want to add, after hearing those, being digitally connected has helped me be so much more well-informed than I was before. And I'm so much more well-informed in real time. Whenever anything is happening in the world, I have an infinite amount of people talking about it and discussing it. And then I'm so much more well-informed what happened, what truly happened, and all the different perspectives that are taken from it.
The one thing that I found with that same thing, we all have to be careful is that making sure we're getting balanced information.
Yeah.
We get a lot of information, but you have to know where you're getting it from.
Yeah, and I have to say that this is the year that I've become aware of my Facebook newsfeed, and I feel a sense of pride in that when I scroll down, I have political opinions that range from very, very far right, very, very far left, and then you were in between, and then a couple outliers, and I really enjoy the diversity of perspectives on my Facebook newsfeed. I'm like, I must be doing something right, that I'm getting a wide array of perspectives.
It's pretty interesting because like I was thinking about this earlier and talking about it in other sessions. And people argue this say like, oh, we're less connected now because you have 737 different news sources at any given time. When it was just like the 3, 6, and 10, like everyone was pretty connected because everyone got like the same news. But what you're saying is very powerful though, because there certainly were not those perspectives. It was not in real time. It wasn't, and you don't even know if it was the real story. It was just like kind of what you're getting fed.
Yes.
But it's that weird sort of dichotomy.
Well, it was the vanilla version that was really going on, that you had to appeal to the mass audience.
Right.
Now you can get a lot of perspectives, but the hard part is to disseminate, which part is the far right, is the far left, it's usually somewhere in between anyway. But at least now you have the ability to get all that input. So it makes it a little harder. So in one way, it's very easy. You can get the headline right there, but now we have to really get the deeper context. You have to be able to wade through all the information that you get.
Yeah, that's powerful, especially with that that real push to for kids to identify your source.
Oh, yeah.
Prove what you're talking about, because you could read something on the Onion and start talking about like all this weird stuff that's going on, and somebody's like, well, didn't you know the Onion is this satirical? Oh no, I didn't realize. You didn't check your source.
Or there's some sources that I think are the Onion, but they're actually real.
You can't make under the heading. You can't make this up.
Yeah, and you're like,
That's right.
dude.
I teach history. That's what I tell them all the time. I say, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to believe it, but this is real. This is not from Jon Stewart, who's really not a newscaster.
Yeah.
Say the same thing. You have to understand. Well, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's real.
Well, I didn't realize how many judging here, but even still Stephen Colbert, I didn't realize for a while because I didn't really watch it all the time. I just kind of knew that was like a character, what I mean? But everything was set up like it was like a news.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either until all of them left and relinquished their roles, and then I watched the new guys and I'm like, wait, it really is like they're doing the same spiel. It's a creative thing. It's a creative endeavor.
But it's
funny.
So hard. I was in a boxing chat last summer, and someone shared an infographic, and it was all these statistics about how people basically just don't read. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's terrible, terrible. And I've seen this somewhere. and I Googled it, and it like it actually the conversation was about similar to this, like the kids using stuff that's not real. And I Googled the infographic. And the infographic was all these meta statistics, but it's on the internet. Like if you Google image search, it's all over. And there was a blog post about the guy who actually did it. He basically was like, "Here's the real statistics. It wasn't juicy." And so he made it juicier, and that's the stuff that got spread. But these were educators from all over the country, and I think that that's a completely separate thought now. Just talking, but saying it as a teacher, like, hey, I feel full too. Like, it's not just you guys thinking that that the aliens is real yesterday on Facebook or whatever, or that Zuckerberg's giving you all this money. I've been hoodwinked too, and you really got to be careful on where.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too with the access to information because there's a lot of schools that really read as much as more. It's interesting because I feel like I read more than I ever would. Like I like reading the Sunday paper, but I didn't find myself reading the paper, pretty consistent. I really interested in stuff all the time. I can read,
unplugged day. Maybe that was going to be nice for this conversation about. I think it's so important sometimes reflecting on things. So it seems like most of them are not only what we do in technology, but what's technology.
I do think it is. I just think that. Well, I would guess that
you guys share
from our audience.
Okay. Do you want to? What we can do now is let's just kind of somebody or a couple people who just kind of talk about some of the things that they responded to with the connection piece. Anybody want to start maybe with this group? Some of the maybe trends that you saw.
So one thing that I think all of us said from a positive side is that this sense of connectedness, of kind of having a group of people who are either struggling with or excited about the same things, and having that kind of positive side of connection. And I actually also added sort of a flip side to that, which is that I sometimes feel like, yes, I've got this tribe on Twitter of like-minded people who think about education the same way, and I think about them kind of juxtaposed to people in my own building who don't feel like part of my tribe, and that is probably not a good thing.
Yeah. How about somebody over here?
You made the remark that most of ours were positive, and you said that kind of surprisingly.
It seemed like most of what people were putting on the table was positive about the connections. I don't think there's anything that I would say was negative. Maybe a couple that were sort of on the less positive side. The sort of challenge of managing, feeling overwhelmed, making choices.
Yeah, I think from some of the things that I've shared was that getting into social media and getting connected, so to speak. I had instant access to either all this information, all these trailblazers. I talked in our group about one of the early blog posts I did was about how I came to the realization I was a 38-year-old first-year dinosaur principal. Because once I got connected and I saw all these other things that were going on, I was like, wow, look at all this stuff that they're doing, like student engagement or telling your school story, connecting with people. And I'm like, I felt like I had a lot to offer, and then that just really helped me to grow so much as a leader. And then that access to information, we talked a little bit about just reading, and I don't know, I was somebody that I could read the newspaper on Sunday if I had time, but with having a phone or having a device, I could read so many things all the time. I have so much, I feel like that powerful access to all this information. Those were some of the other positive things. Did you guys want to share anything else out?
I think we had some that centered around more the information that comes out, and how we kind of process that information. But then again, going back to the community and the tribe idea, how we use each other to kind of process through that information. I just think about people sending out blog posts,
I did it this morning. I wanted to send it out to a couple people and be like, hey, send something back to me. Let me know what you think of this. And that, critical friends idea that we also talked about, and how that really just helps us to grow is by, not getting consumed by the echo chamber of Twitter, but using it and other means to question what we're doing and make it better.
Yeah, and that's reflecting out loud piece too, which is so important, All right, so we're gonna leave those there, and now we're gonna shift our focus on the other side. How is isolation impacting us? So very similar. We'll take the time to do this individually. About 3 statements about how isolation impacts you as an educator, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll share out. More post-it size.
Did I hear that right? I have to agree.
Ari Hayden, please report to the at the concierge. Yes, Ari Hayden, thank you.
All right. Isolation.
Sure.
In my role, I find it really hard to find people who have that sort of like sense of so I oftentimes feel isolated in that sense. Unfortunately, that's what people are not but basically, it's, I feel really a ranger in my area. There are, you sit around the table, it's sort of like,
Connected superintendent dilemma. That's conversation. Yeah. Well, I'll just add in there because I put being connected as a isolated for my colleagues at work. Being connected is there's a lot of little stories that I can tell about things that my colleagues have said that like maybe actually feel more isolated from because it's a Twitter guy.
you make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, oh,
But challenge to work with colleagues that just don't get it. Same comments. Oh, so now apparently I have to get a Twitter account because of you, Dan. Now it's mandated. Or like they don't realize that I can see who stops following me. It's like we're friends. Like
yeah.
I know I'm on there a lot. Like turn notifications off or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
One thing I said was, in a connected world, I can choose to be isolated. I can choose to turn everything off. I just have that, I can pick and choose when I want to be connected.
It's a really good problem. It's something similar to that too. I'm sorry.
No, go. I'm rolling.
But in a sense of being that sense of isolation, you do find you like to say, I'm focused now, I'm going to tune this out, or I'm adjusting this. And it's there's no way else to think of that. You have the choice to do that.
Right. Now, actually doing that is the harder part. That's really hard to turn the phone off completely. But it can be done. Sometimes we actually do it.
Speaking to
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, because I added an extra. So, rapid fire, based on, I deliberately left one blank because I knew I would think of something based on what other people were saying, and I thought too.
That's okay.
Not being around people who are like-minded can make me feel isolated because sometimes I won't, sometimes I don't. How do I connect with others who are different than me? Which is the whole premise of a book by Andrew Solomon called Far From the Tree. What happens when how do you love others who fell far from the tree?
Oh, right,
Especially
like
if
the
it's
apple falls far.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
taking that. So that can make me feel isolated. And then, this is something that I get often. Well, you're so young. Insinuating that I have nothing shareable. And that can make me feel very, very alone.
Yeah.
Often. Those were okay. Two.
Well, sometimes I get the reverse. I don't think because I'm one of the older teachers in the school, and
So it goes both ways.
it sure does, because they talk about stuff. I'm like, all right, I know I could have babysat your dad, but which is really the truth. But it can be a little isolating when they're talking about stuff that I truly have no concept of what they're talking about. And I think I'm pretty, up on what's going on in the world, but it can be isolating.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or like if you get into a job early, like a young principal, young superintendent.
Well, I remember when I turned 30, I was really excited about turning 30 because I had always been like the youngest guy at my job or this and that. When I turned 30, okay, now I'm no longer the kid. I'm still young, but I'm not the kid anymore. Now I'll have some value. And that was fine until I turned around 45. And it was like, oh shit, now I am old. But no one values me anyway, so, which is why I changed careers at 50 and became a teacher. So,
That's cool.
so you have about 30, 40 years. Then it'll come all the way around again. Then you'll be a little far sitting in the corner.
Yeah. Well, so then the young and the old will connect.
Exactly.
because they have that.
But in all seriousness, that's where being connected really has broken down that barrier. Because it doesn't really matter if you're 24 or 64, if you're having something of value to share, and then you find out you have so much more. Yeah, superintendent or first year teacher. We have something in common, or even if it's not in common, something. But it can be in common, but we can be disagreeing about it. But it's an adult conversation, and that even the disagreement is a way of being connected.
Yeah.
So I've been isolated from my PLN at times because I feel like I just can't keep up.
Exactly.
And
There's always, I mean, even in my second semester, I'm still like,
where the same people who I may have admired when I first got into it,
I
and
think
it turns to the other side where I'm like, this, and this. Yeah, and that whole thing about like keeping up, and it's really, that's been an issue that I've had to be mindful of.
I think
I feel that way.
always is between
One of my passions is learning about the student who wants to sit through a class with ADHD. And the people in my life that do have ADHD, there's many times where I feel like I just can't keep up and I want to like hold them still and be like, slow down. Like, you lost me many moons ago. So yeah, that makes me feel isolated, like I'm not living in the same world that they are. That's hard. So I think we can all
So that's the gate
figure
thing I
out
talk about. That's a gate that I can navigate at this now.
Although, despite sitting next to an
an
actual colleague, being isolated, being in the world of social media, being in the world of coming to EduCon or other conferences, get inspired. All these things are possible. Look at SLA, it's amazing. And then tomorrow's Monday. And it's like, oh, I can't just snap my fingers and it's all good. So I just put that it's frustrating to live in that world and then be in reality that it takes a lot longer to get to where a lot of people are working or the ideas that they have.
Oh, so I some semi-positive. With the isolation,
I didn't realize how much changed
low
I had
doses.
until like after the first year.
And combined with that choice, like it's,
Yeah.
hard to tune it out. 3 o'clock, close the door.
You're a quiet versus Kane. I've read it twice. It's also yeah.
So I guess this is pretty
So
similar
that's
to what
one
I was
I
saying
went to the library.
It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to not to
Because you mentioned that a lot, but yet in the role that you're in, you have to really be, like, and that times extroverted, right?
Yeah, and that's definitely an area that I thought I had to grow. I mean, you basically the face. You basically going, talking, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And that's probably
all the time trying to engage online and not really finding
we just face off a lot. It's mostly just like stimulation. It's fatiguing.
Yeah.
So just to be able to know when to close the door.
Yeah, for me, like my ideal night in college was like was 2 people in Washington. So like when we got to the party and they're like, oh, it's too much, let's just go back. I was like, oh yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
But you couldn't say that out loud.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And those social events are hugely exhausting.
Yes.
Like I will go home and just need to
decompress. Yeah. Yeah, because you said that earlier in the weekend, and I really thought about that, and I've seen you like in a couple different. And I'm like, everything about education is almost always about connecting and talking and gotta do stuff and be around people. And like, wow, I started really reflecting about that because I was thinking like everything we do, like it's either that or you just gotta pull back and go. But you like kind of get beyond that. You must have different things that you do. Because I feel like I'm very extroverted, and I can thrive on this kind of stuff. I can do it all day, But
there's an interesting like this is one-on-one. It's deep. It's not. I don't know why I'm thinking this, but a booking DJ and a zillion people kind of thing overwhelming. So introverts love that connectedness, and it's deeper. There was actually, did you see the Atlantic? I think it was this week or last week about basically why introverts should be teachers.
I didn't read it.
It's a very good article.
I was just like,
Yeah,
I want to read
it's
that.
very good because we value extrovert.
That's actually one of the things
I also said too, like,
that I struggle with a lot about social media.
so luckily I do live in New York.
And
Yeah.
are people actually engaging with other people, or is it
Oh, Randy, I got I'm not a big fan of the cool kids on social media.
Ah.
Set that up.
All my friends or teachers, like not even necessarily schools, like only people were tweeting it out. It's like I feel bad. I feel bad for always one friend that was already
Yes.
is the teacher.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's just two.
Yeah. So I try to
And then it becomes this
podcasts, you know,
all
or
these like rocks.
Yeah.
And then you look at their
So
stuff.
I am reading this really awesome book right now. It's called Drinking in America. History.
I know that sounds like totally
No.
pretentious, but
No, we were having this conversation with Jess Riley, if you know her, she's somewhere here.
Yes, for Drinking in America.
Okay, yeah.
Because I thought Raleigh, I thought
Authors.
Denver.
but she's from Denver.
Yeah. Awesome. So talk about, I only know her through Twitter. And we met at ISTE, and then she came to our school on Thursday because she was coming with us for a whole day. We're in just a larger chat, the three of us, and so we have like a meaningful relationship. But she said her first time at ISTE, people were like following the rock stars around, like literally. She said she went up to the bloggers cafe and kind of sat and just started talking to her, and they had this really good conversation. She didn't know, she was younger. It was Tom Licky, and he was just like, dude, like, just chat it up, you know. So there's this whole other problem on social media. That starts that.
We like at work or what do you mean specifically?
We're at a high school, and then it's very high school.
that's interesting.
And what do you mean by
Oh,
yeah. What do you mean by isolation? Like isolation.
In fact, I purposely avoid those situations now, because I've had times where, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and, you know, run into people who,
Yeah.
I mean, I have
Yeah.
different things,
I
and
think
the reaction that I get is like really different. And some people, and what they'll say too, they're not necessarily the cool kids, but if you kind of peel that level of people, but some of them are very introverted. So getting back to what you're saying, it's like socially they struggle with this, but they can write awesome blog posts, they can circle really cool videos, they can tweet all the time, and you meet them like so I've had a different appreciation of it, but there is a cool kids club that I
You know what I mean? Like where you call it a posse.
The physical manifestation of the Cool Kids Club in Tango are the teachers
It's like, and it's crazy for
we'll call
people.
them the rock stars, who you'll often find talking with only each other in the kitchen,
But I think,
or
and this is something.
they'll like be in some corner of the dance floor or the hall,
Like think about like.
and they
I
might
don't know if
only
there is,
dance
but think
for
about, like, the percentage.
one to only with the rest of the kids. If they
I
want
feel
to
like
dance
it's a
with
great
anyone
scheme
that they
thing.
don't
It's like
know
nothing.
or are not
That
familiar
thing
with,
is
or have never danced with.
Like we're not empathetic to
And
that.
I feel like on social
Still
media,
need to do it.
but I feel like I can
So,
see both,
like, we
like,
always get
I see
together.
that reflected
We need to get other
in the
people.
real world.
You know what I mean?
and
Like
the
everybody's
world
sharing Twitter.
and
But
the
like
digital world.
It's almost like a
We're the
sociological concept that occurs regardless of what the context is.
Yeah.
Right, whether it's
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
yeah, that's just, and that you're right, the same thing happened at these conferences, where you could only get to like their.
You know what I mean? You get a lot of it.
bubbles, and they have.
And I don't.
And it gets,
I sort of guess that because I don't. Doesn't matter at all.
that
So
rock
we
star
should
feel,
get it
I'm trying to think of another word, but like, it continues because people wanna go and they wanna say thank you, or you're awesome, and all that kind of
They
stuff.
want
So
a
then,
guru.
and then there's 50 people
I think
doing that, and then they got, you know, it's, yeah, it's definitely.
very surface.
Okay.
Me too.
They're doing
We're isolating ourselves.
Yeah, right. Like, we haven't talked in 10 minutes.
I
I know you mean
Isolation is
a
also
great
a
job
time
on
when I experience
your
a
minister.
loss of identity because if I'm isolated from others, who am I if I'm
You know,
not in
it's
relationship with them?
It's like,
Am I a nurturer? Am I a learner?
you know what I mean? Like,
Am
people just don't
I
here.
a
First,
sister?
you have to find those.
Am I-
like
who am
friends
I?
out here.
I'm not in a relationship with others. Who am I when I'm alone?
So, I think there's definitely.
I'm not saying we need validation
Yeah,
from somebody else.
yeah, that's what I
I
have.
think you're a good person.
I think the identity changes depending on who you are and what
There's a lot of
you
people.
need someone else or what you
Blogging.
have to offer someone else.
Blogging, but like I like
Yeah,
when
who
people
I am
it's a great
to
tip.
my parents is very different than who
So
I
I
am
think
to
there's
a
advantages
student.
and disadvantages.
It's very different than
It's not
what I have to offer or what I
No, it's not black.
accept from
I guess it too.
like all of
The
it's so very
advantages I
different.
just think is just personal time, that introvert recharge.
Actually, my last two are actually very related. They only could be one, I think.
Or I can sit and
Um,
be quiet,
Because that sometimes alone time is in isolation is necessary to avoid burnout.
but
It's good to be alone, to be isolated. And
That's-
as I said, it's isolation
I
in
love
and of
the
itself
code.
is not necessarily a
In
bad thing.
particular, I feel
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they said, Dan and I, we've had this conversation in school a lot about teachers that
you know, like,
introverts.
yeah.
I'm very
like
extroverted,
all of a sudden,
and I love being around people, and
when
even my wife said she was needed to feed on
ways
this,
that I love,
my life.
love,
And I admit it.
but it is.
But I also need times where I just need to sit quietly, and I try and build that time into the morning, that morning time you talked about before.
Yeah.
Not as successfully the last couple of weeks, but otherwise, I just completely
exercise
frazzle out.
I struggle with, like, I run very regularly. Sometimes I find that some people thrive off it. And not like, I hate running, like,
My last one was just that, so my wife's a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
like,
I'm very
Even
young
at
son,
work, you
9-year-old
picture yourself running.
Yeah.
It's like almost not like a.
getting so connected. I always feel like I have an addictive personality, so I'm so addicted to it that I always like
Yeah, I
to
used
go
to run.
to home and I kind
And
of
yeah, even now though, I
screw up
work my brain,
priorities,
just
so
like when people say something,
where
I'm running in my brain.
Yeah.
Just like
I forget.
running in
He's having
my
twins.
brain.
Yeah, so he's like, I gotta get better at this, but
One
then
of my
I said the
favorite
same thing.
podcasts to
And
listen to, like,
the baby's 15 months old.
is
Mhm.
where there's smoke.
There are moments where I've been better,
Podcasts,
but
they're
on the
being
whole,
power, and they-
definitely
One
not.
of their last episodes I just listened to
So
was
the
about
baby knows
willpower.
what the phone is,
And
because he sees it in my hand all
they-
the time.
They have a lot of experts on that,
And
they
and
make
those
the
kinds of
point
things. So,
that, studies have shown
you know,
that
that's where
the willpower
I've reflected on this year and I have goals for
is,
this year to kind
because
of
of
step
what it
back
does for the brain
and
and
put this in
the
a
body.
room
And they made a
or
joke,
like
like,
put it in
so
the
wait a
trunk of
minute,
the
you know,
car or whatever I have to
and
do.
I have to get to the gym, you know, like they
To
made a
remember,
joke
like-
on that, and they were basically
Like, this is
yeah,
a
you
small
do.
thing, but I was having a
Yeah,
discussion this
you-
week
you-
where it was actually a breakfast club chat on Twitter. If
Releasing that
you haven't joined
exercise
there,
is
but,
what,
BFC 5:30 p.m.
improves
And
willpower.
the question was, who are you if you're not, like, what is your identity if you're not an educator? Who are you? Is there a you without that? And we were talking about balance and all of these things.
Just the fact that the entry through that door is why.
And I looked at my Twitter bio and it said tech coach, connected educator, family man. I was like, all right, family man, tech coach.
Like, I don't.
It was a very small thing, but for me, it was like, you know what, I need to like, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother. Those really should be first.
No, but you know what I mean, though, like, I guess, you know.
And I think in reality,
Yeah.
it
But no, that's like what they.
generally speaking, comes first. In the rat race of the Wednesday night, and I need to do this for the child, you know, those things get more.
Yeah, it's.
That's sort of like what
a
Diana was
lifestyle,
saying too, like when she talks to people and like,
self-confident and
really telling her like these either surface level things or about work, presentation, or stuff like
They
that.
did it
Where
in
you're like,
podcast
wow,
there.
just reflecting on what's behind it, you know?
Her darn, European plan for this one. About.
Yeah.
They also talked about relationships. I had that word a couple times, so I want to know if it's authenticity. I thought that was interesting that it both came up.
Now, what do you think you are? Did you say that?
Totally. Completely 100%.
Where there's.
Which my
Yeah.
last one was if I have too much alone time, I can start to make up stories that cause worry and anxiety about things that haven't actually occurred yet.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm worrying about like, well, what if that doesn't happen? And then what am I gonna do? Oh, well, I'm gonna, like I'm dead in the ditch.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, we need to like come back to reality.
It's a
Reality
step.
for me is
It's
being,
very
that's very grounded.
Well, and those, that's kind of the point that I'm making about like,
A day
one of the
away
dangers
from
for me is that I spend so much
An
time
extreme.
outside of my building, but I might miss opportunities to connect inside my building. And when you do have those like much smaller scale in your building connections, those are ones that you can actually really pretty quickly build some meaningful change from.
Let's build off of that because I think we had some very similar things over here. So let's talk about isolation and what are some of the things that we heard. So you want to kind of just share that again because I think it's going to lead into some things that we're going through today.
Yeah, so we were kind of talking about distinctions between when you're widely connected, maybe online, and not necessarily connected in your building. And how another teacher's definition of connection might just be sort of being connected with the person in the classroom next door. I definitely, kind of going back to what I was saying about the tribe before, like sometimes this sense that I gather at conferences and my Twitter tribe is here and I feel so connected with these people comes at the expense of connections inside of my building. And those are the connections that I probably could be turning into the most actionable change like immediately because it's in my context, in my building, right there.
I wanted to just kind of touch on that because that was one of the things that I talked about. As connected as I started to get, I became very unconnected with anyone who wasn't on social media within and I'm in a pretty big district. There's 11 schools, so there's 11 different principals, there's tons of administrators, supervisors. And then I quickly became the Twitter guy and the blogger and all that kind of stuff. So that made me very isolated from them, and it also made me a little bit resentful because I didn't get that in the other sphere, like what you're talking about of like the connected world. I mean, they could just feed you all day with all different types of information or validation, like you're doing a great job and all that. So it's like you're walking this tightrope, and you're like, but to make some real change, I have to build relationships with these folks that I'm working with. And that really took me some time to like balance and to be mindful of when I'm in this space at an administrative meeting. I have to, no matter what they keep throwing at me about being a Twitter guy or cracking on me for all this other kind of stuff, I have to really like connect with them in order to get anything accomplished. Like, I'm really glad you brought that up.
Well, I was going to say also, are some of those connections not because you haven't been trying to connect with a person in the room next door, but maybe they don't want to connect back for whatever reason?
It can be, yeah. Certainly. For me, I think
they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No, definitely. I think part of what happens with me, I catch myself, is that my social media connections can give me even more of the grass is greener somewhere else problem because I'm hearing about all the cool things that are happening elsewhere, and I'm like, no, it's happening here.
I did that this weekend. I read this awesome post by AJ Giuliani. In fact, we were talking about it. Not only did I think it was an awesome post, but I think it was a really neat process that he took his district through to really build an understanding of why technology, why are we doing these things, and then what they came out with was great. And I sent that to a bunch of people, in my district, and it was really well received. But I feel that a lot too, because I think people have talked about that. Like, well, what if we just all build a school? Like we have, but like, or like I want to work at SLA because they're doing awesome things. When the reality is, there's probably things here that are very frustrating. In fact, I wanted to ask in the last session about that. Because we were talking about culture, establishing this rich culture, and I wanted to say, well, what are the problems here? But anything else you guys want to share out on the isolation? This something we don't talk about a lot.
I said, I think that's important for me is introvert recharge. So I feel like a secret introvert sometimes. So for me to get isolated from myself and just take some time to reconnect with me, to either just being quiet, read a book, try a new recipe, just connect with me for a hot minute, and then go back to the rest of the world. Yeah.
We talked a lot about introversion, and we talked about the same thing, which is really neat to hear you guys did. But your words, you described it as the stimulation is fatiguing, and that as an introvert, like you need to go into a little bit of isolation because you're so tired.
Yeah.
It's
So
exhausting.
yeah, my dad is an Episcopalian priest, and he is an insane introvert. And he comes home like after services, and he just is exhausted. Like he will sleep for hours. And you know, my mom's like, she's not an introvert, so she doesn't get it. But I'm not his level of introvert, but it's been so interesting to watch how just extremely exhausted he gets just from, just even that little being up there like that. So yeah.
And we talked a lot of introverts and extroverts. This is just popping in my head that I'm an introvert as well, and a lot of my alone time is spent in this realm, like Twitter and blogging. Well, I would say a lot of it is Twitter, which is not quality alone time because it's full of stimulation. So I'm actually bombarding my brain, and one of the things I noticed, I was talking to someone, was like, I'm not getting quality sleep. Like my brain's like pinging in the night. So like I actually have to like schedule time away from this on top of that if you're an introvert. Yeah.
Has anybody read Quiet?
You brought that up.
Yeah, I've been told so
awesome.
many times to
I
read
know.
that.
I got it right.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Susan Cain.
That's amazing that we had very similar conversations in two different groups, in two small groups.
Well, I wonder. Okay.
I was going to say there was an Atlantic article this past week about teaching.
Let's talk about
that.
Crazy.
What am I looking right now?
Well, I did a slam on one of these but Randy set it up, so we allow Randy to set it up. Because I wonder if you guys got into this, because I know we talked about it. Go ahead, Randy, I'm putting you on the spot.
I think which one did.
It was this one, right?
Yeah,
Or was it-
This one.
Yeah, this
About
one.
How did I set you up?
Yeah.
What did I say?
It was awesome. The way you set it up. Now, it was something like,
Where's my right?
you were talking about like when people, you get isolated. Yeah, right. You get isolated from people.
Is that the digital superintendents?
No, it's more of like the rock star, superstar, folks that you weren't saying that, but
You said that they share it, and you're like, did they even read it? Did they have a meaningful conversation with someone about
Sort of the
it?
shallowness of the conversation.
Like the groupies. It's like
Yeah.
Twitter
And then
groupies.
that led to spike.
that's what I said.
talking
So
about
I get isolated. One of the things that I wrote about, and we touched that on in our book as well, is like getting isolated from the Twitter rock stars because there's certain people out there who have a certain persona, and it's very, it's like you get into this whole thing about being connected, but like if you see them at a conference and you try to connect with them, they don't have time for you because they have their groupies, or you're not in their cool kid clique, and that is very, it turns a lot of people off, and it happens a lot. So that's why I was like I don't know, it was much better when we did it.
I think it wasn't actually one of my notes. I think it came from one of the conversations. When I was talking about the shallowness of the interactions, like the isolate, like feeling isolated, like I want to engage in some rich conversations, and maybe the medium's the wrong medium, but like feeling isolated, like I can't have any like substantive conversations with any of these people.
Text them on a date, and it's just like, no, you're great. No, you're great. No, you're greater. What? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like echo chamber validation.
Yeah.
I mentioned like it's idea like you have there's different circles and levels and things like that. It's the difference between like having colleagues, having people in your PLN, and having friends. You know what I mean? It's like, your real friends will be critical. I think a real friend is critical of the work that you're doing, having your best interest in mind. So I think it's like having a PLN, but having those few friends within your PLN that you can actually call friends. I think there's a difference.
is Voxer a better medium for that critical, deeper element? I mean, I got involved with Voxer for a while, and I felt like I would listen to different people and what they had to say. Number one, I felt closer than Twitter because I could hear their voice. Number two, what they said might last a couple of minutes. So it was people, there was more of a connection.
That's popped in my head a number of times here.
But I don't know why I got away from Voxer.
I mean, depending how you use it, like the big Voxer groups can be very, very surface too. So I would say specifically Voxer when it's one-on-one. This past month, I've had very long, like I never realized it caps even 15 minutes. Someone actually sent me a 15-minute live, so I stopped and started doing. But it was actually I had a problem at school. Like I needed help, and someone from Twitter that I met on Twitter, talked me through it.
Yeah, so the next part of this is really then getting in funny that you said that about like what are some tools. So you take the connection, all the great things that are going in connection. It's honestly like we had time, and then you have the isolation. There are some commonalities there. So the next stage is really what I struggle with most. Is like what are those tools to help you to be mindful? Because I'll be honest with you, even today I wasn't very mindful. Like Scott was trying to help me set up, and you know how it is before a presentation. You got all this stuff going on. You're not being very mindful. So he was very, very helpful just to be standing there. And then it's like in conversation, like are you thinking, are you listening, or are you like me, where it's like, okay, I'm looking at the time. You're doing on time. I want to make sure that this person goes in effort. Like I was always constantly not being mindful, and then checking myself within that, saying like, all right, this is what you struggle with. You struggle with mindfulness. Like listen to what the person is saying. You know what I mean? So how do we? The next thing is like, how do we help each other? To be mindful of this stuff. To be mindful of these pits of connection and isolation. So I don't know. What are some of the tools?
One of you're talking about Andy from the app. And the app Andy. The mind. The app that you've mentioned earlier.
Headspace.
Thank you. Yes. He has this great analogy about distracting thoughts being cars on a highway.
Yes.
And you have to choose whether or not to let that car pass or to chase the car. And we've given that thought to our students too, is that you have to think of those distracting thoughts as just cars on a mental highway. Just let them pass by. And try your best. And I always say too to my students, put effort in your focus, because we always tell our students, oh, you need to focus. We never tell them that it actually takes effort to focus. So I always say like, please put more effort into your focus. And I think that's kind of a straight way of doing it.
It's a very yoga thing to do.
Yeah.
So very yoga.
One thing I did too is I took Facebook off my phone. And I say to my students and other people, take pictures now, post later. So I did this right around Thanksgiving, and I said, because what happens is Thanksgiving dinner is, I want to take a picture, now I'm going to go post it for 5 minutes to figure out what I'm going to say. Take your pictures, post later. Last, just do a plug for my favorite current podcast is Where There's Smoke. Their last episode was on willpower, and they said the studies show that willpower is ironically connected to exercise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so those people who exercise actually have more willpower.
I heard you saying that because I wasn't being very mindful over here. Could you talk about that? I'm glad you brought that up.
What was the name of the podcast?
Where There's Smoke. So it's also part of me trying to connect to other things outside of PBU. And it was suggested to me by someone I completely admire professionally. So and they said that it's ironic that to have more willpower, you have to get to the gym because you need work hard to get to the gym in the first place. But the studies have shown that those people who do have willpower exercise more. So.
You also exercise more if you have more willpower too.
Right. They were joking. It's that
Feeds into
it's
each
a
other.
trade-off. Yeah.
One of the things that I'll share, I mean, I am less connected than I think I've ever been. You know, I have really stepped back in a lot of the things, like participating in Twitter chats, blogging, posting things, because I'm trying to get that balance back, to be able to just to dip into it, like, because it's that big, fire hydrant of information, to understanding the physical space that I'm in and connecting with those people that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I'm horrible at meditation, but I have tried some meditation. I think that app has been very helpful, although I haven't purchased the unlimited, which really isn't that much money, but I haven't like, we're going to do that. Then I have the gym membership. I try to go to the gym. I try to eat better. These are some of the strategies that I've been trying to do. You mentioned yoga or dancing too. Yeah. Like so let's hear some other things. Like
I have a lot, which is really funny because as I'm thinking about all the ways that I practice mindfulness and like how I connect to myself to practice mindfulness, I can't think of a single way I do that digitally, but I can think of so many physically. The one is the way I start all of my beginner tango classes is with a 1-minute standing meditation, which we can do if we want before we leave. And then the other is when I teach an intense clinic, like a 3-hour class on close embrace, which is what you do in tango. You walk and hug. It's wild the amount of mindfulness and being fully present it takes to actually hug someone. And the thing that we'll say is, okay, like find hug someone, greet them and hug them, but stay in the hug for 30 seconds. And then at the 30-second mark, you say, okay, now make whatever adjustments you need to make this hug more comfortable. And it takes all the way up to that.
Whoa.
It takes all the way up to that cue for people to be like, oh, I wasn't comfortable. Like they didn't even think about it because they're mindful.
Right. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It takes that kind of awareness and that much time. It takes 30 seconds to reach that state of mindfulness. And so that's what I try and hug people, and I try and give them a good long hug on a regular basis. They say you need 10 hugs a day to have an emotional well-being, a positive emotional well-being. So.
Yeah, we do a lot of hugging in our like the kids. Just like when I first started there, they're like, "Listen, these kids, they're just huggers. They hug all the time." So like, because I know some schools eschew that. Like, like our kids hug all the time, and there's a lot of research that says like those longer hugs, really do help you. How about coloring, like the adult coloring books? They're like the biggest thing.
I just got them for Christmas.
Yeah. Okay, so fun fact is that if you want some profanity coloring books,
there's a swear word one. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, and they're very beautiful.
I know that sounds pretty mindful, but it's just kind of hilarious. But just that. I mean, it's kids. Why not us?
Yeah.
I just saw an advertisement for an app that's an adult coloring book, and I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I was like, is that like defeating the purpose of a coloring book?
I don't know. My daughter has one on here, and it's actually it's basic, but I think you still get a little bit of it.
So and then so I wondered about the tactile kinesthetic mindfulness. Like, do you still get that with an app?
Yeah, or that people will color with the TV in the background. Find some music, or quiet. Yeah.
When I went in the Barnes and Nobles, it's right around here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's huge, the display now of color, adult coloring books.
A coloring book revival.
Our CST department actually handed out, I don't know if you got it in Europe, but they basically handed out coloring pages with teachers to keep in the classroom for themselves and for their students if they felt that they needed them.
In our after school program and sometimes the kids come in, they're really wired, they probably want to go home or they don't want to go home and they don't know really what to do. And we had one of the coordinators had the coloring books out, but she got the adult ones really, really, and it's funny because she's like, let's just watch it. Let's just see if it works, and they were kind of rammy, and then she gave it out and they kind of started, and I was like, there's research that kind of goes to what you're saying, is that this is a really good meditative mindfulness. And that's the next step too, and we certainly don't have time for that. It's like, what are some things that we can do for kids? Because I was going to show you a couple videos. Like, there's some really cool things that are going on in school now, because it's not looked at this as this like Far East, spiritual yoga, guys hover, floating in the air. It's actually become, like a scientific sort of, scientifically based, practice to try to help kids also. I don't know, are your schools doing anything? Oh, yeah, you said yours are, right?
Yeah, I mean, we use the word mindful a lot, and I think that part of this goes too, though, is to the research of the mind and body connection. That, I'd be interested to see if the schools who do practice mindfulness, if health increases, especially for faculty and teachers. Why not put some coloring books in the faculty lounge, some colored pencils, so that way maybe instead of it being, one reason I never ate lunch in the break room was because the negative that just starts happening, and especially when people just start complaining about kids, and I was like, I'm out. But I wonder what would happen if you just put some coloring books out, just some sets of colored pencils.
We've talked about doing that in our studio in the water room, which is the waiting area in between classes if you're arriving. But my mentor and I at the studio, we've done a lot of talking about doing a professional development in schools, and we've tried to start an initiative in our studio for yoga for children in schools, that we would either bring our program to schools or schools could come to us. And so that's something that we really want to do in the future, whether it's a professional development, whether it's a connection with a local school, something that's completely on our radar.
I see it a lot in the music and arts, where our kids were doing the Lion King kids last year, and they would go through that. And I was never really into acting, so you probably laugh at me like everyone does this, but that whole thing of they shake their hands, they do this, they do a countdown. You know what I'm talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was like, wow, that's very meditative. Or when the chorus teacher starts and she does that she does a really cool warm up, and they make all these different sounds, and it's and it gets the kids focused. I don't know. Those are some of the things that I see, but we have a lot of work to do in that area. I have some resources at the end of this. I'll tweet this link out of the presentation, but it's definitely something I think we could be benefiting from, or the kids could be benefiting from, and the teachers, to do some more things on mindfulness. So with that, anybody else have anything for the good? All right. Well, hopefully, thank you. I'm glad that you guys stayed, and hopefully we'll be connecting and not isolating ourselves from each other.
Yeah, right.
If you guys are looking for a good eating, if you haven't read Michael Pollan's Omnivore Dilemma, it's also now a special on PBS, just about clean eating. It's great.
Oh, I've heard about this.
All of those.
It's so funny. You're in my head, because I just read. I'm writing.
Guys, we're so connected.
I'm reading this book right now, and
That's why.
my daughter got really worried when she saw it out. It's a book called How Not to Die. She's like, are you gonna die? And I'm like, no. It's just the name of the book. Yeah. But it's this whole thing about healthy eating, and obviously eating better food for you, to feel better. It's I don't know. It's
another meditation one is Dan Harris, who's on is it Good Morning America? You've probably seen him.
He has. I know who you're talking about.
10% happier.
10% happier. Yeah.
I listened to the audiobook, and if you've seen him, he's a straight-laced newscaster. He was massive drug addict, horrible thing, basically post-traumatic stress from covering the Middle East, and did some meditation. And the title is, "If I do this, can I make myself 10% happier?"
That's pretty
He-
good if I could do that. See if they want this 5 minutes in the morning, 1 minute each hour. Yeah.
Wow.
That was something else. Okay, forget it.
He actually had one of the most, that would have been great if we had time. He had one of the most famous anxiety attacks. He was like,
yes. He was a reporter.
he was a reporter, and if you just, yeah, if you Google like,
Dan Harris breakdown.
Dan
Wow.
Harris breakdown, right?
Yeah.
So he has this huge anxiety attack, and he really has been very reflective in talking about that. And his book, 10% Happier, is it's really good because that's the other thing. We think that we're going to change everything overnight, and his philosophy is like, why don't we just try to go from here to here, like just one step, at a time.
It's a more attainable goal.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to copy this link and put it on Twitter because there are some resources in the